Welcome into the Slobberknocker Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Leak, and I'm here today with a quick breakdown of last night's game between my Dallas Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks. And I want to talk today about Mike McCarthy first. And let's talk about some of the coaching decisions last night because some of them were egregious. And I think it's important to talk about because if the Dallas Cowboys want to have a real chance to make a playoff run and get to the Super Bowl, Mike McCarthy must be better. He must be. Let's look at situation number one, and we'll go early in the game. Dallas leads 3-0. Seattle has the ball. It's second down and 10, and a wide receiver screen is called. DK Metcalf gets called for a hold on the play. The play ended up in a 3-yard gain for the Seahawks. The official, when he announced the hold, did not even ask Mike McCarthy if McCarthy wanted to accept the penalty because it makes no sense to decline a penalty there. It's 2nd and 20 versus 3rd and 7. And McCarthy, for some reason, decides to decline the holding penalty, make it 3rd and 7. Seattle goes on to convert on 3rd and 7. Luckily for Dallas, it ended up being a missed field goal for Seattle on the drive, but it really should have cost Dallas 3 points, right? The drive was continued because of McCarthy declining the penalty. And you don't have to be a math guy to know that that's the wrong decision, right? You have roughly a 23% chance of getting a first down when you are in 2nd and 20 on the next two plays. And you have a roughly 44% chance of converting a 3rd and 7. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense to decline that penalty there. Bad decision by McCarthy right there. Let's look at number two. This is more of just a broader issue here. The Cowboys last night were called for 11 penalties in the first half. 7 were accepted for 104 penalty yards in the first half, right? In the game, ended up being 9 accepted for 127 yards on Dallas. But 13 were called for or declined by Seattle. And this is on Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn. And I will say it's a little bit more on Dan Quinn than I thought it was. My feeling is if you're an undisciplined football team, which the Dallas Cowboys are, they're the second most penalized team in football behind the Seattle Seahawks, both in terms of number of penalties and total penalty yards. They've been penalized 90 times this year for 764 yards. Again, both second worst in the NFL. But I will say a large amount of these penalties have come on the defense. I think as a whole, if you're an undisciplined football team, that is a reflection of your head coach. That's a fair assessment, I believe. If you have an undisciplined head coach, that's going to happen. You're going to see undisciplined plays on the field. Now, you look at it, and I will say, again, Dan Quinn is responsible for some of this. For example, Dallas has jumped off sides 14 times this season. In fact, it's been more than that, but they've been accepted. 14 penalties have been accepted on Dallas for offsides. Last night, I believe there were 4 offsides on the Cowboys in a single game. And it just can't happen. The next closest team in the NFL has been flagged 7 times for offsides. So the Cowboys have twice as many as the next closest team in terms of offsides. That is just being disciplined. They have plenty of pass rushers to get home. You don't have to get off early. And you would think if that's been an issue throughout the year, that's something that's addressed. But it continues to get worse and worse over the course of the season. It feels like every game we have at least one. 14 offsides. I will say that the DPIs, there was one last night on Bland in the end zone late in the first half that I didn't think was a PI. Cowboys have 9 DPIs on the year. The holds and things like that. Surprisingly, Dallas doesn't have any illegal contacts this season, but I can live with that. Dan Quinn's always coached a physical, tough defense. His Seattle Seahawks Legion of Boom defense always led the league in penalties because they essentially interfered on every play, and the idea was they're not going to call it on every play, so let's be physical. So I'm okay with that, but the offsides are unacceptable, and just the sheer number of penalties, 90, right? 32 have been on the offense, 41 on the defense, and 17 on special teams this year. Undisciplined football throughout the organization from the head coach to the defensive coordinator. All right, let's look at another situation from last night. And basically, I think this one is on Dan Quinn somewhat too. But again, you're the head coach. This is things you should be thinking of, right? But to me, you have a first down and goal after the incompletion that was, or the ball that was initially ruled complete to Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then overturned, but a pass interference call, questionable pass interference call on Deron Bland, put the ball on the 1 yard line. There were 7 seconds to go, and the clock was stopped on the 1 yard line here. In my opinion, why more teams wouldn't do something like this, and this is too far from McCarthy, right? Because this is thinking quick in the moment and having this planned, and he's not smart enough to do this. Dan Quinn probably is, though. 7 seconds to go on the 1 yard line. I am 100% telling my cornerbacks and everybody to hold their receivers on this play. There can only be one penalty accepted, so they're only going to move it half the distance to the goal. They're already on the 1 yard line. They're going to move it to the half yard line. If you get a defensive hold there and they don't score, which is what you're trying to do, you just have everybody hold everybody or everybody grab the face mask of the opponent. Now you're putting it on one play, right? Seattle had 2 chances to get in there. If you put it on one play, now it's a lot more pressure on Seattle to score on that one play, right? They have a decision. Do we kick the field goal here, right? With 7 seconds to go, a lot less pressure. Okay, we can throw it here. We have a shot. If it's incomplete, we got another chance to settle in. A lot less pressure. If I'm Dallas and I'm the coach, that's something that I would have considered doing. Tackling, whatever, kind of the way that teams do when it's the end of the game. They're trying to run the clock out and they just have everybody hold to run the clock out and let the quarterback run around back there. But to me, that would have been something that would have been showing me, okay, this coaching staff is competent. They are thinking, right? They're thinking creatively. They're thinking of ways to help the team win and put them in positions to succeed. That's not this staff. They're not creative. They don't put people in positions to succeed. I don't understand it. Situation number 4, late in the fourth quarter. This one I can somewhat live with. Dallas scores to cut it to 26-28. There was about 4 minutes to go in the third, 5 minutes to go in the third. I kind of think you go for 2 there. Your offense is rolling, right? You put the pressure back on Seattle to score, as opposed to now it's your Seattle still has the ball with a lead. I understand you don't want to not get it early and get behind the 8 ball, because then if Seattle does score a touchdown, right, now you're down by 2 possessions. But I kind of felt like that was late in the game enough to go for it there with your offense rolling. It obviously, that didn't affect the game much, but I thought that late in the game, thinking you're going to need stops to win the game anyway, you probably go for 2 there, but I can live with that one. This one, I cannot. Situation number 5, Deron Bland gets the big interception after a really rough first half. And there's about 3 minutes to go, roughly in the third quarter after the interception. You have the ball inside the opponent 40. I believe we started on around the 38, 37 yard line. 1st and 10, down by 1, 27-28. Rico Dowdle trots out there at running back. Not 1 play, not 2 plays, not 3 plays, but all 4 plays, Rico Dowdle's out there at running back. Why is your starting running back on the bench there? Pollard had just scored a touchdown on the previous drive. He is by far your best back. I understand if you look at the basic stats that Rico Dowdle averages more yards per carry than Pollard, that's skewed for 2 reasons. Number 1, Rico Dowdle runs the majority of his runs that earned him that 4.3 yards per carry. They come late in the game when Dallas is up big, right? So much different defense is he going against. Number 2, Mike McCarthy absolutely does not put Pollard in position to succeed. That's a guy who likes to get the ball and be able to see the field, right? He's elusive, he's explosive, and you're running him basically under center every single play. He's running under center in front of 7, 8. I think there was even a 9-man box or close to it last night. And it's just like the most predictable play calls. That is not on Tony Pollard. I don't care what anyone says. Go back, watch the film. You will see what I'm talking about. They do not get creative in the ways to get him the ball. They've stopped throwing him the ball out of the backfield as much. They don't throw screens to him all that often anymore. They line up in basic under center handoffs in front of loaded boxes. I don't get it. And they're predictable. And the defenses know that he's just going to get the ball. And you saw late in the game when Pollard got some shotgun handoffs and the defense wasn't sure whether to expect a run or a pass. He busted a couple big runs. He had a 20-yard run. He had that touchdown run. It just, to me, I think Mike McCarthy does a terrible job putting Pollard in a position to succeed there. Regardless, Dowdle got the carry on first down, and this is issue number 2 with this situation, the play calling. Run to Rico Dowdle on first down for 3 yards. Okay. would have gone with Pollard. Not an efficient play. You need to get 4 yards on first down for it to be considered a success in terms of rushing success rate. They don't get that. Second down, short pass. Third down, short pass. And you basically didn't throw a ball beyond the sticks, and you put yourself now in a fourth down and short. And now that's play calling right there, bad in the biggest drive of the game. Pollard out of the game, bad in the biggest drive of the game. Doesn't make any sense. Then on fourth down, you decide to go for it there and not kick a field goal. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You're down by 1. You just got a huge turnover. If you don't convert here on third and it was about 3 almost, you basically give all the momentum back to Seattle, which is what happened. It very well could have cost them the game. You take the lead there, you now kind of control the game. Seattle has to go down and take the lead back. If they do, you're now going to have a chance to answer, right? So you kind of have more control. Now, obviously, in hindsight's 2020, they convert that first down. CeeDee Lamb dropped the ball. Should have been a catch. Should have been a first down, right? You convert that, it's a difference there. But to me, you have a kicker who hadn't missed all year. The kick's inside of 50. You've trailed the entirety of the third quarter. I take the points there and take the lead. He went the other direction, and it could have cost him big time. Luckily, it ended up working out for the Cowboys. But you had a chance to take the lead and didn't do it. Last situation, and this is the worst one of all of them. The pass on third down at the end of the game. Dallas is up by 3. It is a 3rd down and 3. On the first 2 runs, Pollard ran for, I believe, 6 on first down and 1, maybe 2 on second down, or maybe it was 5 on first down and 2.5 on second down. It was about 3rd and 3, maybe 3rd and 2.5. At that point, you're not in a very predictable situation, right? Like, Seattle is probably assuming that you're going to run, but they can't not play the pass here, right? You have to assume that the whole playbook's open on 3rd down and 2. And McCarthy had a full, arsenal of anything he could do, right? You kind of have the defense guessing. You can pretty much dial up whatever you want here. I was expecting some sort of RPO with Dak and Pollard, a zone read with Dak and Pollard, which in recent years has been a go-to play for Dallas late, especially when Dak hasn't pulled it a lot. You get the defense going to Pollard, pulls it at the last second, and gets a first down. Worst case scenario, I thought if they throw, it's going to be a rollout for Dak. It's going to be something short. And if it's not there for the first down, Dak will take the sack. Because there was 1:45 to go in the game, I believe, before the snap. If you just don't incomplete the ball there or run out of bounds, even if you don't get a first down, you kick a field goal, you go up by 6, and Seattle gets the ball back with no timeouts, needing a touchdown and under a minute to go. That is not what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Mike McCarthy decided to call a fade pass to CeeDee Lamb. The pass wasn't even close to complete. Dak probably shouldn't have even thrown it. He probably should have just taken a sack or given himself up. And instead now of a minute and no timeouts, they gave Seattle 1:40, which in the NFL is tough, but it's not impossible. A minute you have to think is somewhere around 10%, right? Especially, I know Seattle would move the ball, but it's not like Geno Smith is Patrick Mahomes, right? Or Josh Allen. So you have a decent chance of stopping them if you just run the ball there. Not to mention, you probably have a decent chance of getting the first down anyway. It was a horrific decision. And on first down, time wasn't a factor really for Seattle. First down, they got a big play close to the 50-yard line, and you're sitting there out of bounds with over 1.5 minutes to go, needing 50 yards to win the game. Time is not that big of an issue right there, right? So to me, if that pass is complete, otherwise there's 40 seconds to go. Now time's an issue. That's going to be a tough job to get the ball in the end zone. You tackle him in bounds a couple times. McCarthy makes too many mistakes, right? It's not one or the other of these. It's the list, right? It's penalties, the decline of the hold, right? Not keeping the clock running late in the game and playing the numbers and knowing, okay, if we're going to take the shot, it's got to be something. It's got to be a really good play. It can't just be throw the ball up deep, right? And you think about all the other big-time coaches around the league for contenders, and you think, do I see the other coaches like Andy Reid or even Nick Sirianni, who I don't like? Do they make those big mistakes? No, they don't. If they're aggressive, they go to something that they know works best. It's a high percentage play. If it doesn't work out, at least we know we've done it before and it's worked before. So I have a problem with Mike McCarthy in terms of I think this team has the talent to win a Super Bowl. Dak is playing good enough at quarterback for us to win a Super Bowl. The issue is McCarthy. It is. It's McCarthy. He has got to be better. He cannot be out there making decisions that have no basis in terms of, there's no statistical advantage to declining a hold there. There's no reasoning for it. Mike has got to be better, and he has done a good job of adjusting since the bye week. I will hand it to him. Play calling has been significantly better overall, but he doesn't put guys in positions to succeed. Case in point, Tony Pollard. And his clock management has always been suspect, and his decision-making as a head coach has always been suspect. That's why Aaron Rodgers won one Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy, and no more, despite being a transcendent talent. Mike, you got to be better, dude, if you want Dallas to win a Super Bowl.